Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been checking your bank account recently, staring at your paycheck, and just feeling this deep, frustrating sense of financial anxiety, I want to stop you right there and tell you you're not alone. And honestly, you're not imagining things. Over the last couple of decades, the cost of standard middle-class necessities has shot up at nearly twice the rate of typical wage growth. It's wild. Today, we're breaking down exactly why earning what historically was considered a high salary often feels like you're literally just scraping by. We're going to dive into a really fascinating breakdown of the modern middle class trap. It's this dynamic that leaves so many professionals feeling totally stuck, even though they're doing everything right in their careers. So let's look at the data from the source material and map out exactly what's happening to your money, why the math feels broken, and most importantly, how we can fix it. All right, let's jump right into part one, the six-figure mirage, unpacking the illusion. For generations, we've bought into this really powerful cultural myth that hitting a six-figure salary equals instant wealth. Like, boom, you cross that threshold and suddenly you're immune to financial stress, right? Not that long ago, a $150,000 salary was the absolute ultimate goal for financial freedom. That meant a detached home in the suburbs, 2 cars in the driveway, annual family vacations, the whole shebang, plus a really robust savings account. But our source material challenges this illusion head on, because the reality of modern economics has totally distorted what those six figures actually buy today. For a lot of professionals, especially if you're living in or near a major city, hitting this number doesn't trigger a life of luxury. Instead, it kind of triggers a quiet panic. It barely covers rent for a 2-bedroom apartment, basic utilities, and childcare. You hit the big goal, but the prize is completely missing. And this brilliantly illustrates the problem. The gap between expectation and reality is absolutely staggering. On one side, we expect wealth. We expect to feel rich. But on the other side is the reality, what feels exactly like a $50,000 lifestyle from a few decades ago. It's the absolute core of the middle-class trap. You've got the heavy tax burden of a high earner, but the daily financial friction of someone making a fraction of that amount. The math just doesn't seem to translate into the lifestyle you were promised when you were studying for your degree or working all those late nights for a promotion. Okay, let's dive into this because economists actually have a specific, highly validating label for this exact paradox. Henry, high earner, not rich yet. I actually love this definition because it perfectly hits the nail on the head for the modern professional's dilemma. You are a high earner. The income is absolutely there. You're generating significant capital. But you're not rich yet because that capital is instantly swallowed up by the expensive environment around you. So if you've ever felt guilty for feeling broke while making a genuinely good salary, this acronym is your validation. It is a recognized economic state for sure. It's not a personal failing.
Moving on to part two, the cost of the American dream, the mathematical reality. So the crucial point is, why is this actually happening? Spoiler alert, it's not because you're buying too many lattes. It's about massive structural changes in the economy. When we compare historical prices to modern prices for the 3 main pillars of the American dream, housing, cars, and education, the reality becomes totally undeniable. Housing hasn't just crept up, it's multiplied at roughly 3 times the rate of typical salaries. The price of reliable transportation has surged to historic highs. And education, which, let's be honest, is often the strict prerequisite for getting that $150,000 job in the first place, that has outpaced standard inflation by leaps and bounds. The baseline, the absolute minimum cost required to just participate in a standard middle-class life, has drastically shifted upward. The trinity of the American dream is simply costing infinitely more of your paycheck than it did for previous generations.
I really want to pause on this thought for a second. The baseline for a middle-class life has drastically shifted. This is absolutely crucial to understand, mostly because it completely removes the shame from the equation. Your financial strain is rooted in unavoidable systemic rising costs. You aren't failing at money. You're just playing a game where the cost of entry has fundamentally changed. You're paying modern prices with an economic mindset that was formed decades ago. Which brings us to part 3, the lifestyle inflation trap. The psychology of spending. But here's the thing, systemic issues, they're only half the battle. We also have to take a hard look in the mirror. This is where the source material transitions from what the economy is doing to us to what we're unknowingly doing to ourselves. The text uses this incredible metaphor, escape the gravity of lifestyle inflation. Think about gravity. It's this invisible force, right? You don't see it, but it's constantly pulling on you. Well, lifestyle inflation works the exact same way. As your income goes up, this invisible psychological force constantly pulls your spending up to perfectly match your new income. You get a raise, and suddenly your definition of what's acceptable or necessary gets an automatic, unthinking upgrade. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how subtle this trap is when it first opens. It's almost never buying a private jet. Instead, it's the nicer car because, hey, you've earned a safer commute. It's more takeout because your time is more valuable now. It's moving to a better zip code for the schools or just convenience. Individually, these are small, seemingly harmless lifestyle upgrades, but collectively, they quietly expand your baseline of needs. They act like a giant sponge, just soaking up every single extra dollar of your new higher income. And that leaves you feeling just as stretched as you were before the promotion.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. Part 4, decoupling income from expenses, the escape strategy.
So we know the math is working against us. And frankly, our own psychology is working against us too. So how do we break out? Well, you have to decouple your income from your expenses. To build actual wealth, you have to break that automatic, assumed link between earning more and spending more. Society is always telling you that if line A goes up, line B must go up. No way. You have to actively sever that connection. If your income rises, your lifestyle baseline must remain static. That gap between the two, that is literally the only place where true wealth is actually generated. Let's move to and see how this builds into a really clear, digestible playbook for decoupling your income from your expenses. Step 1. Acknowledge the gravity. You've got to be hyper-aware of your own psychological urge to upgrade your life when you get more money. Just call it out when it happens. Step 2. Cap the lifestyle baseline. Decide right now what your actual needs are and freeze them. If your current lifestyle works, lock it in. And step 3. Divert excess to wealth. Every single new dollar you make from raises, bonuses, or side income doesn't go into the checking account to be absorbed by lifestyle creep. No, it is immediately and aggressively diverted into investments, assets, and wealth-building vehicles. Ultimately, it all comes down to the fundamental purpose of your work. Ask yourself, are you earning to build wealth or just earning to maintain a lifestyle? It's a pretty provocative thought, but it's the exact question you need to ask yourself if you really want to escape the high earner middle class trap. We have to redefine what the American dream actually means for our personal financial futures. Are you funding the illusion or are you funding your freedom? Definitely something to think about as you look at your next paycheck. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.